On today's podcast, we have the legend, Mr. Didi Hamann. He reveals what Rafa actually said at halftime in Istanbul. Giovanni Elba stitched up Trapattoni. We find out about that, and obviously dig deep into Istanbul. Also, one big night in Japan. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to that Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch. I've got Chris Stark and the notorious SID, and a big guest. Been threatening this for a while.
Yeah,
it's Mr. Didi Hamann.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
the Kaiser.
The Kaiser.
Been looking forward to this.
I have been, yeah. I mean, listen, it's been a long time coming, isn't it? How many times I talk about the Kaiser?
Yeah, and when we throw it out there and we say, who would you like on the pod? Your name has been mentioned a lot. Firstly, got to start with an apology. We are in a pub. There's no beer on the table. And from what I understand, Sids and Pete had a bit of a rough evening last night. Pete sounds a little bit croaky, actually.
I had a tough time last night. Yeah. It was like a birthday celebration.
I've seen it like this before.
Yeah.
You introduced me to this.
Is this what the podcast will be today? We're learning from the master, is
No, it's a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolute legend.
So shall we take it right back to the beginning then? Do you remember first meeting Peter Crouch? And what were your impressions of him?
Well, obviously, we had quite a few England internationals. They knew him and of him, and obviously they all said that what a great lad he is. And yeah, I can't remember when we met for the first time, but he obviously signed in
2005, yeah, just
2005, just after Istanbul, yeah, which probably wasn't the best time to sign, and because expectations were high. And then he signed, and obviously everybody knew after a few days you get to know somebody in training, and you see them in the canteen that he was a good laugh, he was a good lad. He had a bit of a rough start to his career. I don't think he scored in the first 10 or 15 games. And one day after about 10 or 12 games, I went in the booze, and there's a guy coming up to me, and he said, what about the Crouch? He said, is he not a centre forward? And I said, yeah, I thought he was. But he got his first one, and I think you got 2 or 3, did you?
I got 2 against Wigan, yeah. Well, I say 2. One of them
was that the lob from
one of the worst goals of all
from
time.
30 yards or something?
Yeah.
That was the first one.
That was the first one, yeah.
They all count, Pete, though, don't they?
They all count, yeah.
They all
It took a
count.
deflection, went 30 foot in the air, and then the keeper palmed it in, and I claimed it.
But when that drought was happening, because we've heard it from Pete's side, do you remember what the discussions were amongst you boys?
Yeah, no, you support him. Obviously, you sometimes you take the mickey out of him, but you've got to support somebody because it could happen to anybody. And obviously, we've never been centre forwards. I don't know what it's like not to score for 7, 8, 9 games because it never bothered. But you have to support him. And after he scored the first one, then he went on a bit of a roll because he scored, I think, 2 in the next 15. No,
I was on fire.
Everybody supported him, but I think that's when it's important that you have. Well, you don't have to get on, and everybody's different. But if the lads see that he's a good kid and a good character, people will support you. Because with somebody else, somebody else may not have got the support Crouchy got because he was well liked and was obviously one of the guys and the best boys in the dressing room.
So you were joining the Kaiser. Did his reputation precede him?
Yeah, I mean, listen, me and Didi hit it off straight away. Like, I've never met anyone who's like more scouse than. That fair to say or not?
Yeah, I've been there a few years. Obviously, when you came up, signed in '99. So when you signed, I was here for 5 years. 5 years was it? Yeah.
Did you live near each other?
Yeah, so we lived. Didi lived above me in a flat in the ledge.
Oh, so it wasn't it?
So literally above. Yeah. So he'd just come down every now and then, and I'd go up. And
he's lucky it wasn't the other way around, right?
But yeah, he looked after. He kind of looked after me. I mean, I was kind of away from home, and I didn't really know anyone up there, and we just got on. We got on great. And enjoyed every moment of it. To be fair,
yeah, we had a decent bunch. It was, I think there was always a special thing that we had a good dressing room, and really great togetherness. A lot of nationalities, but we've always won, and obviously Crouchy fitted in perfectly.
You took to England and being in England so well? Like, obviously, you went to Newcastle first. How did you find it up there?
Yeah, good. It was great. A bit short. You know, I would have liked to stay a bit longer. Obviously, I signed for a longer time, but when Liverpool came calling, it was hard to turn it down. And it's never a nice thing to leave clubs and tell the club and the fans that you're off or you want to be off after one season. But I liked it because the people love their football up there. Great sense of humour, and it was brilliant. Went to Wembley, unfortunately got beat in the FA Cup final against Man United. But no, really enjoyed it. But when I had the chance to go to Liverpool, I thought or I felt it was an opportunity I had to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find when you were up there in Newcastle, did you find, it's going to be a weird question this, but we'll be able to explain. Did you find, out of all the cities in the UK, you would describe it as the city of love?
Newcastle.
Yeah. Did you find love?
Did you say you're going to explain?
Did you find love in Newcastle by any chance, or?
Yeah, but I felt it everywhere. It was obviously they have a love for football, especially in the north. Now it's a great city, and there's only one club. There's no other sports really being played, even though they probably have basketball teams or hockey teams, whatever. But everybody loves their football there, and they're so passionate, and it would be great to see them winning something at some stage.
Yeah.
But you kind of like took to Liverpool and like the city kind of more than any other foreign player that I've known, I think. And like what made it like special for you, and you know, why did you enjoy it, and did you feel like an honorary Scouser?
Yeah, but obviously that comes with time, because when you first go there, you know, people won't appreciate you or love you if you haven't got a successful time. Obviously, what happens on the pitch is key. Yeah. And also looking back as a player, because you probably don't see too many players when they haven't really got a successful spell at a club which is quite big as Liverpool. If they hadn't won anything, they're looking back thinking, you know, this was a great time, because, you know, the main thing is on the pitch. What happens off the pitch obviously is important as well, but you can only enjoy that when you're successful. And when I came to Liverpool, I kind of felt at home from the first moment. Gerard Houllier signed me in '99, and you know, the lads were great. They had some young players, young English talent, Gerard, Carragher, Mike Lowe and Danny Murphy, and obviously some foreigners came in, and it was just we just gelled pretty quickly. And the thing that really made me appreciate the city and the football club was probably the first Hillsborough anniversary. I was there, which was in 2000, when there were 20,000 people, and obviously then the names are being read out from the people who lost their lives there. And I never forget that I went in the car afterwards and I thought to myself, I've got to do everything in my power to not let these people down. And this is where I really understood the club, what it means to the people, because obviously I was in Germany at the time. I heard what happened, but obviously when you then actually find out who the people were, the parents there speaking, it did something to me, where I thought I've got to do everything in my power to try to make these people happy. The fact that we won a few things in the years after that, you know, obviously a lot of things had to come together. We've been a bit fortunate in one or two games, but you know, that's part of it.
How close do you think, or how far away was you from? Obviously, you went to Liverpool to win the league and win things. You won competitions, but you never really got over the line with the league. Yeah. Did you ever feel close to win, like as if you was going to be winning the league or challenging?
Well, I think there was only one season where we really still in come April. Yes, of course, I came to Liverpool or went to Liverpool to win things, but the club, I think, hadn't won anything for about 10 years. Yeah. I think 89 or 90 was the last time they won anything. And if you had told me in the 7 years I was there, we won what we did win in the end, I would have chopped your hand off. And as I said, in cup competitions, we could compete, but, you know, if you want to win the FA Cup or even the Champions League, you don't have to be the best team in the competition. Yeah. If you want to win the league, you've got to be the best team. And bottom line is, we never been the best team. I think 2002 was the only time we were still in contention with 2 or 3 games to go. I think in the end we were 4 or 5 points short of Arsenal. But did we have a realistic chance when I was there? Probably not. Obviously, when I left, then Torres came and Suarez, Crouch was still there. Obviously, Alonso was signed, and Mascherano. They brought players in we didn't really have before. We had a good team, and I think when I left in 2006, I think 7 or 8, I think you were really close. And then obviously with Stevie's slip, which I probably shouldn't mention, in 10 when was it 12, 13? So they were a lot closer than we were. But in a cup competition, we were a force, and in a one-off game, we always knew we can beat anyone.
Yeah.
And what's your take, obviously, on Istanbul? And you must have talked about it a million times, but humour us. Like before the game, half time, talk us through that day.
Did you want to, this might be an odd question as well, as part of that, did you want to come on at that point? Because you're 3-0 down at half time.
What were you thinking when you get the call?
Yeah, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Because obviously I thought I was injured before, but I played the last 2-3 games. And I think Rafa never played Stevie in the middle of the park in the Champions League games, because I always felt that Stevie's at his best when he hasn't got any defensive responsibility, because he wasn't the most disciplined, but in a way it helped us because he picked up positions. And as you know, when he started running, he was unstoppable. And for some reason, I think Rafa thought, which he never did, that they are so good that he's got to do something which they don't expect. So he played Stevie in the middle with Xabi. Obviously, Harry gets a lot of stick. Harry Kewell was a tremendous player. Just had a few injuries when he came to Liverpool. And obviously, I'm not playing. I watch a game, first minute, first 1-0, and I think to myself, at least we've got another 89 minutes to score one. 25 minutes, second one goes in. I'm thinking, well, this might not have happened if I played. And the third one goes in, and I'm thinking, thank fuck I'm not playing. So I had I had a roller coaster of emotions, and obviously then they score. We should have had, before they score the second one, we should have had a penalty, which we didn't get. They went 3 goals better, but we were 3-0 down. And to come back to your question, you go in the dressing room, and I thought, like everybody else, that's it, curtains. And then Rafa comes in, and he, you know what he was like. He was dead pragmatic. He wouldn't go on. What happened? He said it's done. He said we make a change, and obviously Jimmy was going to come off. He said, Didi, you come on. This is how we play, 3 at the back. Move Stevie a bit further forward because he was our biggest goal threat. And I went outside to warm up, and obviously then in the dressing room, Steve Finning complained of a sore groin, and then he changed. He got Jimmy back out of the shower, and Finn came off. And while I was warming up, every minute, obviously, the fans were still singing, maybe more out of desperation than belief. And every minute I was warming up, I thought to myself, you know what? They scored 3 in the first half. Why shouldn't we score 3 in the second half? And then I thought, again, coming back to your question, did you want to come on? Probably not at the end of halftime. But then I thought, we're 3-0 down. If we get beat 5 or 6, it's got nothing to do with me. We lost the game in the first half. And in snooker, they say it's a shot to nothing. I just thought, give it a go. And I felt, because we played a lot of finals with the team, and I knew if we get 1 goal, I'm pretty sure we get a second one. And every time, all the finals we've won, we beat Arsenal a few years before at Cardiff, where Michael Owen scored 2 goals. They bullied us. We never got a kick for the whole game. We ended up winning the game. And I thought, if we get them into a dogfight, into a tight game, there may still be a chance. And if you make it 3-1, 3-2, even the best teams make mistakes. And obviously they did.
When you came on with that attitude then, and you've had a bit of time to think about it, and you're warming up, and you talk about your mindset change there, which is fascinating. Did you find that when you joined that team that they were all sort of matching the same spirit as you? Or did you feel that you also had a role to kind of lift everyone around you as well?
I'm not sure. People say that I changed the game. I wouldn't say any different.
It must be a nice thing to have.
But one player is, it's a team game. I couldn't do anything. And I think the belief or the thought process after half-time, I think, because, you meet people and, people say, oh, what about Istanbul? And you tell them, and I say, did anyone believe we can come back? And there's always a smart one who said, yeah, I knew it's not over. Well, it was over. And if there was one person who believed we can turn it around, it was the manager. And that's the belief he gave us, because he spoke. If you heard him speak at halftime, you didn't know whether we were 3-0 down or 3-0 up. That's how he always was. And he was dead calm. And I think he gave everybody confidence. and all the players. And people always talk about I didn't change anything. The game changed, and I did my part as much as the other 10 to change a game. But people always, they didn't laugh about him, but they always said, "Oh, Djimi Traore, how can he play for Liverpool?" Now Djimi, he was in the shower, and as you know, you're 3-0 down. The manager says you're coming off, and he probably could have taken anybody off. So if you go in the shower 3-0 down, if it wasn't me, I probably would have said, "Thank fuck for that." I'm off because the game's finished anyway.
Yeah.
Now the guy's in the shower. 2 minutes later, somebody comes and says, "Djimi, you've got to carry on." Now, once you finish mentally with a game, to get back into that zone, into their focus again, is near enough impossible. And Djimi played as well as anyone in the second half. And I always say, my hero, the reason we won the Champions League is not me, it's not Steven Gerrard, it's Djimi Traore.
Wow.
Because he had a goal line clearance. He had a few last-ditch tacklers, one of the best tacklers, one of the quickest players. And Djimi played as well as anyone. And this is what set us apart from other teams, because whoever played, whatever happened, we always knew we can rely on each other, and we are there for each other. And that's what, in the end, with a bit of luck, obviously, we had the breaks and we had a bit of luck in the second half, especially when Jersey saved their ball in the last minute of extra time. But he needed it. But I think we worked hard for it, and
he was in the shower at half time, was he?
Yeah. He was. Yeah, he was going to come off, and then Finn complained of a sore groin, and we already made a change in the first half. And this is Rafa again, because Harry Kewell had to come off after half an hour. Smitsa came on. Now, if Djimi comes on, or I come on for Djimi, and then Finn comes off after 60 minutes, in his head, he was thinking, we've got to play 60 minutes if we get into extra time without a substitution, because in them days, we only 3 subs. So, and when people say, "Oh, you were fortunate, you were lucky," yeah, we had a bit of luck. But to make the call at half-time, Rafa did. Yeah. Because at half-time, 3-0 down, he was thinking about extra time. And I don't think too many managers would have done that.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
So, speaking of showers, just on that, you celebrated.
It's coming now.
You celebrated by smoking in the shower afterwards, right?
Yeah.
What a way to celebrate.
Well, the only way.
The only way.
Yeah. No, you come in, and obviously it was all a bit surreal, because we left the restroom 2 hours before, dead and buried, and we come back 2 hours later, and the cup is in the middle of the dressing room. So there was no wild celebration. People just sat there in disbelief, thinking, what has just happened?
Wow.
And then I thought, now I'll have a celebratory smoke. And I looked in my toilet bag, and I left my fax in the hotel. And a minute later, the chairman came in, David Moores. And I had the old smoke with him before. And he came in, and he had... He had tears in his eyes. He was the biggest fan. He was one of the lads, wasn't he? He always travelled with us in his tracksuit. He just loved being with the boys, and he was one of us. And to win it for him and with him was just extra special. So he walked in, and before he could even say anything, I grabbed him, and I said, "Chairman, I need you in the shower for a second." So he said, "What's up?" I said, "Give us a fag." He said, "I can't." I said, "Come on, give us a fag." He said, "What happens if the manager comes in?" I said, "Just sack him, you're the chairman. You call the shots." So reluctantly, he went in, and he sparked up as well. And then we just...
Oh, whenever you can. It's the best
now we
part.
just stood there, and we never said a word to each other. But I shared that moment, and unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. And to share that moment with him was just obviously we had a bit of a celebration afterwards, but there was just the icing on the cake of the best evening in football terms, to share that moment with him. And I know how much it meant to him, because he got a lot of stick afterwards when he sold the club to the Americans. But I think this is a moment he never forgot, and I certainly didn't.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That is incredible.
So obviously I'm going to get into a little celebration of that night, but what about when we've worked so hard to get back in the game, and you got to take a pen? What's going through your head there?
Well, obviously we were fortunate, because Jersey made a save in the 120th minute, which it was probably easier to score than not to score from Shevchenko. Yeah. And I just thought, when when we got to penalties, I just thought to myself, if we don't beat them now, we never beat them. And, you don't really take notice of anything which is going on around you. Rafa came and he asked me whether I want to take a penalty. I nodded. And a couple of minutes later, he come back and he said, he take the first one. And I didn't even know who takes the other 5 or took the other 5 or 4 because I didn't need to know. And, I think you just have to commit. You have to make your mind up. In golf, they say if you leave a putt short, they can't go in. I think you have to commit. And if you miss it for the right reasons. And the task was made a bit easier because Serginho missed the first one. But at the same time, it was a chance to get us ahead on the night for the first time. And, commit, unfortunately. I probably couldn't have hit it any better because this was probably exactly the place I wanted to hit it. And I did remember because Rafa, he was a penalty pervert, wasn't he? He knew everything. He knew everything about
penalty pervert.
He knew everything about penalties. Was his passion? No, passion. I wanted to say, and I remember him saying that there's a stat that I think there's a 90 or 91% better chance if you hit it above hip height. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter where you hit it. Yeah, whether you hit the corner or whether you hit it in the middle. If you hit it at a certain height, it's got a far better chance because all the penalties are safe down. All the goalies don't jump up; they all go down. And I did remember that, and I just, I was hoping or tried to hit it above hip height. Obviously, don't want to hit it too high. And as I said, I couldn't have hit it any better. And obviously, a bit relieved when it did go in.
Yeah, amazing.
And then we shouldn't forget. I don't know whether we talk about the others. If you actually look back on the penalties. Jerzy Dudek was probably 3 yards off his line for the ones he saved.
Yeah, it was bad.
And exactly, it was bad. And I don't know how they never complained. Obviously, in this day and age, it wouldn't happen. The referee was a Spanish guy. I'll never forget because the lads were not too happy in the first half. He made up for it.
But you weren't in an order. You weren't. So before the penalties, you didn't know who.
No, I did. I knew I'd take the first one, but I didn't know who's taking the other 4. Because I didn't need to know. Because the thing is...
But did the manager do it on confidence then?
No,
did the manager...
No, he obviously, the lads knew when they take him. But I didn't know because when he said it, I was probably somewhere else with my thoughts. The good thing is because sometimes when you go to penalties, sometimes managers have to look for people, which is not good. But Luis Garcia wanted to take one, which the manager didn't want him to. I'm sure that Xabi Alonso, who missed one, would have taken another one. So he probably had about 7. And the other thing is, when people say, oh, you've got to prepare for a game, sometimes you've got to think out of the box because the 3 penalties we scored were scored by the 3 players coming on. Yeah, so you may have your penalty takers in mind, but then you have to make a substitution, and then you have to see us on the pitch at the end of the game. And, in them days, there were only 3 substitutions, and our 3 penalties, which probably never happened before, were scored by the 3 players coming on.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's good, isn't it?
So after the game, what's the celebrations like? Obviously, you have a ciggy with the chairman. Where does it come after that?
Well, we went back to the hotel with a time difference because Turkey, I think it's 2 hours ahead of the UK, so the game finished after midnight. So by the time we got to the hotel, it must have been 2-3 o'clock. Friends and family there. As I said, it was still people still in disbelief because it probably took a few hours or a few days or a few weeks to sink in. No wild celebrations really. Campino, my mate, or our mate, was there.
The Campino?
Yeah. Well,
am I saying it right? Die Tutenhusen? Was that right?
Tottenhosen, yeah.
Tottenhosen.
Dead trousers, yeah. Tottenhosen, yeah. He was there with some of his band members, and he went back to Liverpool the next day, and then I think he had to change the flight 4 or 5 times because he played a gig in Austria the day after. So that's dedication for you. And then obviously we left at 8 or 9 in the morning to go back, and then people already been on the phones and say, oh, there's a lot of people in the streets, and it was meant to take, I think, a couple of hours to go from Speak to the city centre. In the end, it took us 4 or 5. There were so many people, and these are the memories I'll never forget. Winning is one thing, and obviously to share that with your teammates. This is what's brilliant about team sports. That's why I always wanted to play a team sport. But to see so many happy people and happy faces was just a sight I don't think anybody ever forgets.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Did it make you emotional? Do you get emotional?
No, I don't get emotional, but it made me happy because this is what it's all about. Because the fans are part of the football club and they've been through a lot over the years. And obviously, it was the last time was 21 years ago when they won it in '84, and there were people from 6 months to 100 years old, and also some blue shirts. You know, and I think this is what's fascinating or brilliant about the city of Liverpool, that even the Everton fans, I think, appreciated what we did on the night or throughout the season. And I think this is what, with all the rivalry they've got, I think they're big enough and fair enough to appreciate when the other team does something good.
Well, is this true as well that you would often go and drink in blue pubs?
Yeah, because they leave me alone.
Because they'd leave you alone a little bit.
Yeah. They didn't harass me in the red pubs, but you know, if you want a bit of peace, and if I go for a pint on my own, there's a reason I'm going on my own, because I don't want to speak to anyone. So you know, if I wanted to have a conversation, I wouldn't go on my own.
Yeah.
But I've got to say they're very. You know, they're very thoughtful. People don't harass you now in Italy, but they say, I've never played in Italy, but they say, oh, they touch you, they want to take a photo. And in them days, there weren't really, these camera phones. They only just started coming. So they want to shake your hand or want an autograph. So it was all good. But I used to go to blue pubs as well, probably preferably. And the other thing is there was never any trouble, because people say, oh, you go to an Everton pub. I say, yeah, you know, people, you know, they appreciate that. And in 7 years I played there was never, you know, because, we had the odd night out. And sometimes when people have a drink, crazy things happen. But then in 7 years, there was never, ever one situation where I felt, oh, this could get out of hand now. I mean, in terms of trouble, it got out of hand at times, but, but not in terms of... Not in terms of... getting into trouble or whatever. And this is special about the city, and this is why I went there and I stayed there for a long time, and it was the longest time I played for a club, the most successful time, and it was brilliant.
You talk about it potentially getting out of control sometimes. Like, I also want to touch on Japan.
Japan, yeah.
What the World Club Championship.
Yeah.
We had a few beers after the final.
Yeah, carry on.
What happened, Pete?
What are your thoughts on that? What's your take on it?
Well, obviously, I couldn't play because I played a few minutes in the semis. We played Chelsea a few weeks before, and Essien tackled me knee height. And I had a bit of, I don't know, infection, bruising, whatever I had. So I couldn't play in the final, which was bad. We lost the game. And we got back to the hotel, and with the time difference, Jamie carried obviously a lot of some of his mates over there, and he said it's Chelsea Arsenal, I think 10 o'clock, 10:30 local time. The lads in a boozer, they have the footy on. Are we going? I say, yeah, well, of course we go. So there's quite a few coming. All the Spanish come as well, because even though they never drank. Yeah, I know you were there. And so anyway, the game finished. We have a few more, so it goes 2:30. We've got to go. I think the bar was, they just about to shut. Yeah, we need a taxi. There's only one taxi. And as we go out, the taxi's full. I didn't know he was, and he told me today, because all the Spanish were in. And I said to the Spanish, get the hell out, because you get home, because we were pissed, Cara, Crouchy, and myself. And they only had apple juice. So I said, come on, get out, let us get in the car. They wouldn't have it. And the next thing, I don't know who he was, one of Cara's mates, I suppose, ran over the cab. So I don't know whether it's a common... No, it wouldn't be a common thing in Japan that somebody runs over the cab. But he had a panic button. So he never, within 30 seconds, there's police everywhere. So everybody's running off. I had a bit of an injury. It wasn't the quickest anyway. So the lads all off. So I was the first one to get caught. I'm in my tracksuit. So the Japanese geezer, the copper, he grabbed me, and I said to him, here, live a bird. I said, player, yeah. And he didn't understand. He was having none of it. So he put me in the car, takes me to the police station, and I sit there. Nobody speaks a word of English. Obviously, nobody speaks a word of German. And I'm there for a couple of hours. By then, it's 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and I'm thinking I'm knackered here because the coach was leaving at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And then I remember that we had a guy who studied in England somewhere, Japanese guy, and somehow I got them to call the hotel and got him on the phone. So he turned up half an hour later, explained it all, and I got out, I don't know, about 6.
Straight to breakfast.
Yeah, quick shower, brekkie, and off we went.
So no one knew you'd been arrested.
No.
Is this the day before a game? Or
No, this is after the game. After
this
we
is
lost
after the game.
And the worst thing probably coming out of it, I roomed with Sami Hyypiä for that trip. And Kara was obviously part of that travelling party in the pub.
Yeah.
So when Kara got back to the hotel, he must have seen or he must have heard that they nicked me. So he would call every half hour, he would call the room, and Sammy, he didn't say much at the best of times. He was a bit pissed off because he lost out on sleep. And he phoned him again at 5:30, and he said, is Kaiser back? He said, no. And Sammy said, don't worry about Kaiser. He always got back. He'll be all right.
Well, so how do you look back on your Germany career? It was a World Cup final.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, I've been to 4 tournaments. Got knocked out of the Euros twice in the first round. Not making excuses, but it's probably easier to do well in the World Cup. But because in the World Cup in the group, you usually have, as a big nation, you have 2 teams you should beat. Euros we had Romania, Portugal, England. Obviously got beat by England, and the other time, can't remember, we had the Czechs and we had the Netherlands. Yeah, we should have done better in the Euros. But, I started in 97. So my first tournament was a World Cup 98. And we had the oldest team. I was the youngest player with 24. That was the year I went to Newcastle. I was the youngest player with 24. So after the World Cup 98, we got knocked out by Croatia in the quarterfinal. I missed a great chance to make it 1-0 in the first half, which haunted me for a while. There were probably still about 10 World Cup winners from 1990. I think most of them, 7, 8, 9 of them stopped. So obviously we didn't have many players. I was youngest with 24. There wasn't an awful lot coming through. And that was a problem. Obviously, we still should have done better in the Euros. Looking back, probably disappointing because, yes, we did go to the World Cup final, but the winner takes it all. And I feel we played a Brazil team that was beatable. Ballack, our captain, was suspended. He got his second yellow card in the semis, which was a shame. If he had played or if he could play, I think we would have had an even better chance. And we had a great unit. We had a great spirit, which is not the norm because obviously you only see each other for 5 days a month. But obviously, if you fall short, then if you ask me about success and things, I would never class that tournament as a success because if you lose in the final or in the quarters, it doesn't really matter.
Who's the most impressive German player you played with?
Well, there were a lot. There were obviously when I started, there were a lot of World Cup winners. The thing is, when you talk about players, you play with them in different stages of their career. Because I played with Matthäus for about 4 years in Munich and 4 or 5 years in the national team. Lothar was a freak. He had so many bad injuries and he still played 150 times for his country. Yeah. But obviously when I started playing with him, he was in his mid-30s. The best one probably I'd say, and the one I loved playing with was Ballack. Because he's a player. He was just a leader, and he had that air of arrogance where you always felt if he's in the team, we'll be all right. And he gave a lot of players, I think, or the whole team a lot of confidence. He was a great captain, and I'll probably say Ballack.
When you scored that goal at Wembley, did you realise the significance of that? The last goal at Wembley, and the people. English people bring that up all the
Yeah.
time, but as a German,
Yeah,
do you worried about that?
It probably would have meant more to an English player because it's like you scoring the last goal in Munich or in Berlin.
Yeah.
It would have meant more to an English player. At the same time, we hadn't beaten a big side for about 2 or 3 years. So I think for us it was very important because we just got knocked out in the Euros in the first round. It was one of the first games Rudi Völler just took over as a manager. And then obviously playing in Wembley was always special. And it was raining. They played footballers coming home. When we warmed up, it was a proper game. I think in October or November. But it didn't mean, obviously people still remind me and say, he's got a last goal at the old Wembley. Does it mean an awful lot to me? Probably not.
It's a big pub quiz question, that one, though.
It's a good one, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the kind of one that gets revisited on it
Yeah,
boxes and things like that, which I'm sure you're really happy with.
Was playing against England heightened for German players? Obviously, for English players, it seems like it's a big rivalry. There's a lot of history behind it, but
It was. It was probably at the time. It was probably our biggest rival. But then you've got to say, because 2 months or 4 months previous, we both got knocked out in a group with Romania and Portugal. I think it was because the English went home with us. So I think both nations struggled for a bit, but. I think it was Pardo. He was a golden generation, wasn't he?
Yeah.
2000, that's when he started, 2000, 2002. So what I would say is that England probably had better players than us and probably should have done better in tournaments in that time or in that era. They didn't. But it's always special because especially at Wembley, it was 66 when the goal was scored. It probably wasn't over the line. And I'd say it was at the time was our biggest rival and now it probably is again.
What was your version of Football's Coming Home? I never even thought to question that. Because you would have heard that everywhere at the time. But was there a German equivalent?
No, I don't think there is. No.
They never did it, did they? They never found that song. What's the biggest German fan football song, would you say?
I'm not sure we got one. I'm sure we have one.
Yeah. See, you ain't got that.
There was no translation for it. Yeah.
Hey, like, am I saying this right? Die Tutenhusen. Was that right? The band?
Tottenhausen, yeah.
The Tottenhausen.
Yeah.
So his mate was Campino, right? He sings You'll Never Walk Alone.
Mad Liverpool fan.
Mad Liverpool fan, right? He sings You'll Never Walk Alone at the end of his gigs, whatever. And Didi sorted me out. I went to Munich on a stag do. He looked after me and got me tickets. We went to Hanover. We flew to Hanover from Munich and in the football stadium. And he played it. And I ended up singing You'll Never Walk Alone with him. On stage, it was 20,000 people. Germans. They must have thought, what the fuck is going on here? I was up singing it. And I was at Portsmouth at the time. What a moment, though.
But that's what we've talked about doing on the podcast as well. We've talked about doing Oktoberfest, but doing it properly. I imagine you're the guy to sort that potentially.
What is it like, Oktoberfest?
It's brilliant.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right up. Right up.
You'd love it. You'd love it. Just a 2 week piss up, yeah.
Do you do that? But would you do that as part of the national team? Would you all celebrate Oktoberfest? That must be utter madness.
Well, obviously it's
Bayern or
Well, the team goes. In my day, we had a few. In this day and age, it's very hard because everybody knows the lads. Everybody's got a camera, and they can't really. And that's really a shame that. They have to give a lot of their privacy up because they can't really go anywhere. We used to do. And it's just great. The only thing you have to bear in mind that the beer is quite a bit stronger than here. So if you can drink 10, because it's 2 pints, a Mass or a Stein. So if you drink 10 pints here and you think you can drink 5 Steins there, you'll be in hospital. You'll be in Hossie.
Oktoberfest with the Kaiser would be an amazing.
And
I think
it's called Oktoberfest. But the last day is always the first day, the first Sunday in October.
Right.
Yeah. So it could be if the 1st of October is a Sunday, you go back 2 weeks. So don't think that you come in October because in October it'll be finished.
So you go to City, right? And Sven's there. You work with Sven there?
Second year.
Second year. And then you end up kind of like working with Sven when you retire, like coaching. What obviously I've heard you speak about him in glowing terms. Like, how did you find him?
I was brilliant, and you would have had him
Yeah,
in
in
England.
yeah.
He was just such a nice and caring man, and in a football club, I think it's very important that everybody's happy. And he would bring chocolate for the tea lady or for the girls at the reception. He made sure that everybody's happy and everybody's work is appreciated. And I think that's a quality that not too many have, because, and I don't want to speak about anybody else, but a lot of managers, they go in and they say, oh, we've got to make sure the football side is right. But if the rest of it is not right, if the people are not happy, because obviously this is how he treated players as well. You know, he didn't treat them as players, he treated them as human beings or as his kids. And that was just special. And I think this is why he's been successful for such a long time, because he just managed to have that special relationship with players. And I'm yet to find somebody who says a bad word about him. Everybody enjoyed it and loved playing for him.
And just touching on you, obviously moving to England and kind of embracing our culture and what have you. Like, you're into the horses, right? And you're into the cricket. Like, that didn't start in Germany? Did that start when you come to England?
Yeah, I didn't even know cricket was played. Obviously, I went to Old Trafford when I first came to Liverpool. At Newcastle, we trained at Chesterley Street, which is next to Durham's cricket ground. And obviously, I said to one of the guys, well, what are these guys doing here? And obviously, they had quite a big stand as well, so I thought it must be a game people watch. And I watched them train after we trained. I got in the car and they were bowling, and I had a look and I thought, Jesus. And then when I went to Liverpool, I went to Old Trafford pretty quickly. I think it was Pakistan was playing, and I was sitting side on, and I obviously saw a test match when the best batters, the best bowlers play, and it was just unbelievable the pace they bowled. And obviously it's very deceiving on the telly. And then I got to meet Freddie Flintoff, and he was still playing at Lancashire at the time. And he took me to the nets one day, and I hit a few balls, and then he said, just lie down in front of the stumps. And he said, I bowled 195 mile an hour, Glenn McGraw, Brett Lee. And it come out the machine, and as it come out the machine, it hit the net behind.
Really?
Yeah, it's 95 mile an hour. You know, you can't even see. And this is when I thought, you know, the hand-eye coordination these guys have to have. It's just something else. And people talk about pressure, because I like the psychological side of it. People talk about pressure in football. When in football you make a mistake, you've got another 80 minutes to score a goal or do something good for the team. And if it doesn't work out, you've got another game 3 days after. In Test cricket, if you're an opening batter, you get out first ball, you sit in the pavilion for a day, you're in the field for a day, and then you've got to walk out again. And then there's a geezer steaming in, bowling 95 mile an hour at you. And if you go out twice for a duck, it's not good. And this is where I thought, you know, these guys, the mental pressure they've got, because what fascinates me about cricket is a team sport which you play on your own. Because if you don't bat well, if you get out, you know, there's nobody else. If I make a mistake or you make a mistake, we can help each other. In cricket, you can't, and that's what fascinates me about cricket. And so this is probably a sport which I would have loved to play as a kid.
Yeah,
because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it would have been any good, but
you've played a bit, haven't you? I did, yeah. Read that? You've played a bit.
Yeah, I got 3 runs for all the Liège second team or third team. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I could only pull. I'm not strong enough. My shoulder's not strong to hit it into the offside, so I could only bat into the leg side. I never told anyone.
Oh wow, got weakness.
They know now.
Yeah, I
amazing.
And finished my career.
Retired.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you were big mates with Michael Owen when you were at Liverpool.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, he's big into the horses, as we know. Like, did he get you into that?
Yeah, I've been there quite a bit. Obviously, he's got his yard there, and the facilities is just second to none. Yeah, it's brilliant. And we still obviously kept in touch even when he went to Newcastle, because, you know, sometimes he used the chopper to get back and forth. We waited at the first tee when we heard him when he's about to arrive. Yeah, so no, Mo, I still speak to him, and him and Kara, before you came, they were probably the two I was closest to.
You talk of Sven so fondly. Who was your manager at Bayern Munich?
The one who took me to the first team was
To the first
Beckenbauer,
team.
and then I had Trapattoni.
Oh, Trapattoni.
Yeah, Ray Hagler and Trapattoni.
Amazing.
Tell me if this is true as well. There's an amazing story I read about, I don't know if it was you or a teammate, where there was a bit of a language barrier between you and the manager, and he needed to find the word, I think German word for cojones, and he wanted to give this rousing team speech.
Yeah.
But you gave him a different word.
No, it wasn't me. It was Giovanni Elba, actually. It was Elba, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Tell us that.
Yeah, well, he was looking for the word cojones. And Giovanni said the German word for funny. And so he told the lads, you know, because we lost the game. And his message was, he said, we can't go in the stadium tomorrow and shout, fans, we are sorry. He said, football doesn't work like this. He said, we've got to go and we've got to show that we have cojones. And he said, we've got to go there and we've got to show them that we've got a funny. So the lads started smirking. And, you know, he was a great guy, Trapp, and a brilliant manager and again, such a humble and nice man. And some of the lads, they started smirking and laughing, and he said, what the heck is going on here? And then somebody told him, and then he had a laugh with us. So, that was the kind
So he
of
was
man
good with it.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. And what was, obviously can't talk about, mention Franz Beckenbauer, me not ask you about him. What was he like?
He had an aura that the whole room froze. And obviously, I played for the second team in Munich for about 18 months, and I scored a lot of goals because in them days I played a bit further forward, scoring goals, which I found harder and harder. So I had to go further back. And so I trained. We went to Tenerife in the winter break. The manager got sacked. Ribbeck, he took over. So we went to Tenerife for a week, pre-season training in the winter camp. And we go back, and at the airport, he pulls me and he said, you stay with us, because there were 2-3 players from the second team coming, you know, as you usually make the numbers up that you can play 11v11, whatever. So we trained there, must have done okay. And on the way back, he said, you're staying with us. And I came on in the first game after the winter break, played a few times this season. And if it wasn't for him, I probably had to go on loan somewhere. So it made things a lot easier. He wasn't too well, obviously passed away not long ago, and a big loss, because I think he affected so many people with his humility and his dignity and the way he treated people. Very loving and caring man, and big loss.
All right, and what are you up to now, Kaiser? You're back in Munich?
Yeah, I'm back in Munich doing TV. So I do TV for Sky Germany every Saturday. I do quite a few games for RT in Dublin for the Irish, and do the odd talk here and there when I've got time, and enjoying it.
Did I read recently there was a bit of a to and fro with Jurgen Klopp as well? I'm not fully across exactly what's happening.
I think it's a long time ago. I said years ago when he first came, because they lost the League Cup final and they lost the UEFA Cup final. And I think that's where it started, because after he lost the UEFA Cup final, they extended his contract. He's only been there 8 months. And I said, somebody wanted to talk to me about something else, as it always is. He said, what about Liverpool? And I said, well, I don't really get why they extend his contract, because I don't think it sets a good example for the fans and the players, that you lose 2 finals and you extend his contract, because he had 3 years left.
Right.
And I think he took it the wrong way. I wasn't having a go at him. It was more about the club. And I think he didn't take it too well, because I met some of his family through Campino, because he's very friendly with the sons and the wife. And you know, I haven't got a problem with him. What he's done for Liverpool is second to none. You know, the 9 years he's given to the club couldn't have been any better. And what a story it would be if he wins the league this year, because last time, unfortunately, during COVID, no fans allowed. What a party it would be. And I do think, even though after yesterday's result, I think they're going to win the league this year.
Do you think they're going to do it?
I think, well, they play City at home. They've got quite a good record at home against City. If they beat them, they're ahead of them. I think they will. I think it gives him that extra boost, because I think everybody wants him to go and send him off with a best or most possible success, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win more than the Premier League this season.
You talk of managers. You had a stab at it yourself. How did you decide that it wasn't really for you, that sort of managing and coaching role?
Yeah, well, obviously I was with Sven at Leicester, but then I thought I want to do it myself, and I had a chance to go to Stockport, go back to Cheshire, live there. They just got relegated from League Two. Most contracts expire. There were only 2-3 players who still had contracts for the conference. Sign a lot of players. All you can do, as you know, you can give him a chance, and didn't win enough games. What wasn't my fault. The players weren't just much good. No, it just did work out. And the thing is, I will never forget. I was still speaking to Rafa, who he signed you, didn't he? You know, Rafa was I think he was a genius. The guy was, everything he said made sense, and I loved, and he didn't say much, and I would have loved him to speak every day for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but obviously he knew that, you know, short and sharp, and he made you think. And I met him one day, because I still kept in touch with him, and we did an exercise. We trained one day at Kirby at the academy, which we never done, only once a year for some reason. And I said to Rafa, I said, we did that exercise at Kirby that time. And I put it down, and he said, I can't remember. I said, well, you can't remember. I said, this is what we did. He said, Didi, he said, you have to realize, he said, it's not about the exercise. He said, it's about the idea. So that was something where it clicked, where I thought, now this guy, he's doing an exercise, and I thought it was brilliant. And the day after, he forgot about it. Yeah, and that's a talent or a gift I haven't got. And because, as you know, if you do an exercise in training and it doesn't work, the lads go, what have you been doing the last 2 days? And you do it again, and the lads might go, they haven't got a clue. And once the manager loses respect of the players, he's finished. Over. So you've got to be very careful. So, and this is where I thought, because if I do something, I want to try, or I want to be the best. And when he said that, I thought to myself, and obviously the bar was pretty high with Rafa. He wasn't just somebody. He was somebody who won the UEFA Cup. He won the league with Valencia twice. But I thought, this is a different level. And I thought, I best pack it in. That's what I did. Well, he pretty much finished me, yeah.
It sounds to me that you're really into sort of the psychological side of sport. Is that something that Rafa instilled in you, or is it just something that clicked between you both?
No, I always felt that, you know, it's 90%, because if you look at the teams, if you look at whether it's cricket, whether it's football, you know, they can all play. So the difference between a top team in the Premier League and a mid-table team, I don't think it's that big. Or even the Championship, it's not that big. You know, the biggest difference, I think, is mentally, how you control emotions, how you deal with things, how you deal with setbacks. And that's always something that fascinated me.
Yeah.
Kai, it's just something we do on the podcast is we do an 11. We've had various different 11s. Yeah, the last one we had was an Elton John 11, which was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good.
This is Herbs and Spices 11.
Rocketman.
Yeah.
Was it?
Who was in goal? Rocket was in there, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to...
Joker breaking my heart, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had...
Candle in the Windass, that kind of thing.
Candle in the Windass.
You get the idea.
It's along those lines, anyway.
Yeah.
So I've got Herbs and Spices 11 today, right? Chili Caballero. There's a few dodgy ones here. Saffron Vlar. Danny Rosemary. Lee Parsley.
Lee Parsley's great.
It's a good one, to be fair.
He becomes the Ireland manager, doesn't he?
Lee Parsley, yeah. Got Declan Spice. Mint Dempsey.
Mint Dempsey, that's good. That is good.
Cumin sauce. Cumin Sons of Belter. Oh, there's one. Turmeric Lambert. Turmeric Lambert. Divock Oregano. managed by Pepper Guardiola and Roberto De Herby. Commentators Chive Tilsley.
Who does them?
That's better than I even thought it was going to be. Oh, John. That's John. John, what a legend.
Did you take him?
Well,
A week.
no,
That is a belter.
How old are them?
What
Elton John? No,
The
not
Elton John. I wasn't Elton. No. That was just,
I'd get him back if it was him.
wow.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, that was better than I thought it was going to be. Oh, well. All good.
I always think with these 11s, you must come away from it and you'll be thinking of them all day.
You're thinking of them all day, yeah.
There'll be one that gets you. Feel free to message
Oh,
it.
the Chive
Crouchy.
Tilsley.
Chive Tilsley. What is your favourite
Finish
name?
me
Because
off.
I quite like Cumin Son because it's
Cumin
like,
Son
is
is
it?
Yeah.
Also, very quickly, in case no one knows, why are you called the Kaiser?
We had a pool table at Melwood, and we used to play with. I used to play with Michael Owen against John Anirise, because Ginger, as we called him, he thinks he's smart, but he's not, and he thought he can take us on, and I was a safety merchant, and Mo finished him off. Oh, we were brilliant. Best team in the world. and there was, we had a telly, a big telly. And there was a Mosconi Cup at the time, you know, the 9-ball competition, with the pool. And there was a German guy called Ralf Suke. I think he was even world champion, 9-ball world champion. And the lads walk in like they do in darts. Obviously, this is going back 20 odd years now. And then Ralf Suke played in the Mosconi Cup for Europe. And he walked in, he had a shirt on with Kaiser at the back. And Mo said, if I get you one of those, would you wear it? I said, yeah, of course I would. And that was it. The Kaiser was born.
Kaiser was born. I didn't know that story. I've called you Kaiser my whole life. I didn't know that story.
Yeah, it was Mo, yeah. It was Mo.
Brilliant.
Mike started it. Yeah.
Brilliant, mate. What a nickname. So we got to name this pub we're in, guys. It's yeah. I've got a few entries here. Call it the Crouching Horses. Classic pub name. The Crouch-in Dragon. No.
Shallow.
Oi Oi, the Crouch and Duck Inn.
Oi, oi. The crouch and
Crouch
duck.
and duck.
How do you spell oi, oi?
Duck.
Oi, oi.
Oi Oi. The Three Trollops.
Okay. It's nice.
I think the was it the Chumba
Chumba one bar.
Yeah.
Chumba One Bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
was a
3
belter.
words. Chumba one bar.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like the Alberoni.
Should we go with that?
Well, I think we'll go with that for now. The Chumba One Bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Would be my favourite too, yeah.
All right. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure having you in the pub, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on again, and
Anytime.
all the best, mate.
Cheers, lads.
Top man,
See you
mate.
for a beer
Thanks
soon.
a lot. Thank you.
Right, we've had a massive push on subscribers this year. We're up to over 100,000, but we want more, and that's down to you. So if you haven't hit subscribe yet, but you still like this podcast, hit now. Otherwise, you're a Carl.